Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Vancouver Quadra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very pleased to speak to this bill as well, Bill C-26, which amends Section 494, subset 2 of the Criminal Code to enable private citizens who own or have lawful possession of property or persons authorized by them to arrest within a reasonable time a person whom they find committing a criminal offense on or in relation to that property. And as the Liberal critic has previously said, the Liberals do support this bill in principle, though we do have some concerns about the scope of the self-defense provisions that need to be further examined in committee. And I note that in this debate, some of the members from the Conservative side of the House have assured this House that potential amendments will be discussed, will be thought about, will be considered, and may be incorporated. But I do want to point out that that has certainly not happened in this 41st Parliament so far. In all of the bills that have come forward have been rushed through, including a very substantive Bill C-10 that needed amendments. Even the Minister in the Conservative Party or government recognized those amendments were necessary, tried to put them in later and failed because they were rejected out of hand at the committee where they should have actually been accepted. So we are optimistic that the Conservative government will shift that process of unilaterally pushing through their bills and not listening to the diverse voices from diverse parts of the country that are in opposition parties. So this bill is not new powers and not new concepts, as I noted in a previous question in this debate, and as was said by the member from Northumberland, Quinte. However, Canada's self-defense laws are complex and out of date, and what this bill does is take provisions that are spread over 4 sections of the Criminal Code with respect to self-defense and bring them into one, remove that and bring them into one defense provision. The Liberals do have some concerns about this bill that we feel needs to be thoroughly explored in committee, and our critic, the member from Mount Royal, has laid those out very clearly. They boil down to essentially there's what could be seen as gender discrimination in this bill, where the reasonableness of someone's self-defense action refers to size, age, and gender of the parties to the incident. And we would contend that size and age may be critical factors, but putting gender in there could reinforce the concept of, in quote, the weaker sex, and that's an anachronism in today's world. That's not appropriate, and women are just as capable of wading in as anyone is. I actually have a personal incident with this situation of a property crime, and as the member from Winnipeg Centre described his very difficult situation, mine had a much easier resolution, Mr. Speaker. I'll take just a moment to describe. This is when I returned to my company's office late at night, which many parents of young children do after the children are in bed and everything's settled down. You go back to work. And this was a large building, 5,000 square feet, has a number of offices, and clearly it hadn't been properly alarmed. When I went into the office, I was down a hallway past a number of the different staff offices when I encountered an individual in his probably late 20s, hefty, did not belong there, and had been rifling through the petty cash and the drawers and personal effects of my staff. And so, Mr. Speaker, I used a very potent weapon to deal with the situation, my tongue. So I was completely shocked to encounter this individual alone at night in my office. And my reaction was to tell him all the reasons he should leave right away. He had no right to be there. This is a family business. We work hard to provide a good service, and essentially I succeeded in shaming this individual, so he left. But later on, I realized he might have had a gun. He might have had a knife. He might have decided he didn't want to leave because he hadn't finished his efforts to secure funds for whatever purpose, and he might have resisted, and I would have had to take a different measure, which I would have done in defense of my property. So I appreciate that the laws should be clear, and people should not have to worry that in a reasonable situation where they're depending property or person, they should not have to worry that they will be then charged under the criminal code because of confusion. So I support this as well. But what I do want to bring forward, because many of the members on the conservative side of the benches have talked about their broader approach to crime, and I have deep concerns about the conservative government's broader approach to crime, and partly it's because it does absolutely nothing to help prevent these very incidences of property and personal crime that Bill 26 is providing citizens with a recourse for. Why are we not finding ways to reduce crime? Why is this government actually committing billions of taxpayer dollars to an agenda that is a crime agenda, a crime regime that goes completely contrary to evidence? It goes contrary to advice from states like Texas and California that have experimented with the kinds of provisions built into the conservative government's approach to crime. Those have failed. They've been costly. They've reduced justice, and they've actually increased crime, and this government is going down that road. What really stands out for me is that, comme l'a déjà dit le député de Northumberland County West, il n'y a pas de concept nouveau, pas de pouvoir nouveau. Ce projet de loi est une clarification d'une loi qui est déjà là, qui est déjà là pour protéger des citoyens dans des cas de défendre leur vie, etc. Mais on discute ce projet de loi pour le même temps qu'on a eu pour le débat du projet de loi C-10, un projet de loi qui est 9 projets de loi tout ensemble, un projet de loi avec des implications très sérieuses qui changent l'approche légale aux jeunes énormément, un projet de loi dont plusieurs experts, des professionnels ont dit que c'est un mauvais projet de loi, mais on n'a pas eu plus de temps pour le débattre dans ce Parlement avec les députés nouveaux et nouvelles dans la Chambre, dans cette 41e Parlement. On a eu le même temps qu'il y a pour ce projet de loi 26 qui est si minimum dans le contraste. Et alors, Monsieur le Président, I want to know why we are not seeing prevention. We are seeing the warehousing of mentally ill Canadians and Canadians struggling with drug addictions who should be dealt with funding for treatment, funding for prevention. In Vancouver, the Youth Skills Connect program has been cut, so prevention programs for youth are being cut. So the balance is completely out of whack and will be tipping over Canada's justice system in a very negative direction. This bill we support, but the overall approach of the Conservative government to crime we certainly do not.